I'm Spencer's wife. Thank you. And I had the privilege of being Phil's daughter-in-law from the moment I met him. Today we celebrate the man we miss dearly. Phil was a man full of life, laughter, and love. Oh goodness. Okay, whether he was enjoying a good meal, carving down the slopes, or spending a sunny day on the boat.
You can do it.
Thank you. He embraced every moment with a sense of adventure. He had his own way of seeing the world, but always with good intentions and a heart that always meant well. And above all, he was a father that adored his two sons and loved to watch them grow. He played an important role in each and every one of our lives, and as we know, Phil loved to tell stories, usually over a great meal, so please eat, share your stories, laugh, cry, support each other, but most of all, share the love that we have for Phil. And I do want to just give a special thank you to Jill today for all her hard work in planning, hosting us all in her lovely home. Yeah, thank you for welcoming us and having us all together to honor such a special man. I do also just want to mention we have a guest book just on the table here with Phil, if anyone would like to sign it. And we do have seeds just on the table inside, just as a little memory of the love that we share. And I'm gonna pass it over to my husband that would like to say a couple words about his dad. Thank you.
Bear with me here. I'm sure most of you guys know who I am. I'm Spencer. I'm Phil's oldest son. Some of my earliest memories of my dad were from our time in Florida. I can vaguely remember seeing him up on the boom lift working on whatever fiber optic project he had going on, and then spending his lunch break together with me. Florida was also my first memory of our dog Sushi, a beautiful Siberian Husky. My dad always said of how good of a dog Sushi was, he could never get a dog again, and he never did. After my parents separated when I was young, I lived with my mom in Vancouver. From then on, I'd fly back and forth between New York and Vancouver. My dad would always buy a round-trip ticket so he could come get me himself. And then we'd fly back to New York together for summers and Christmases. When I got older, I was able to fly alone, but he would always walk me right to the gate. Almost every time I landed at JFK, our first stop would be White Castle for murder burgers. Always on the way to Grandma's apartment. A lot of our summers were spent at amusement parks. Dad would drag me on the roller coasters. Every single time I would sit there in line crying. And people would just stare at me and think, what is this guy doing to the poor kid? But without fail, when the ride was over, I'd look at him and say, let's do that again. My dad loved to watch movies. Thanks to him, I became obsessed with Mel Brooks. I honestly can't tell you how many times we watched Spaceballs and Blazing Saddles. He loved to quote his favorite movie lines from those movies while they were playing, and I would quote it myself today, but I think all of you know that maybe I shouldn't repeat those memorable ones. Every summer, instead of going to the theater, we'd head to Chinatown to pick up whatever bootleg blockbuster was out in the movie theaters. Horrible quality, of course, but we didn't care. It became a tradition, one that continued even after Chase was born. We loved to watch all of the Harry Potter movies together. We would always make sure to grab the latest bootleg version each summer. I came to visit and watch it all summer long. I spent a lot of my childhood in the summer hanging at my dad's childhood best friend's Joe Suave's store in Seasons 2. I had the option of staying at the apartment in Portchester as well, or heading to the store bright and early. How could I not spend the day with my dad at work if I had the option? We would go out and do deliveries. Each stop we made, it would always end in at least an hour of conversation. One of my favorite summer memories was enjoying weekends in the summer, spending time at Joe's home in the Hamptons. There we would spend the hot summer days on Joe's boat, water skiing, or spending time on the beach there. That's where my dad taught me how to water ski, and my dad always loved being on the water. And then one summer, my dad bought a boat of his own. he named it Dispenser Chase. It just showed how much he really loved his kids. We spent a lot of time on that boat, tubing, water skiing on the Long Island Sound, and taking weekend trips to Block Island. Sometimes we'd just hang out on the dock at the marina all night. Dad would retell old stories. I've heard all the same stories at least a couple dozen times, and he knew it too. But he just loved to retell them over and over, especially the stories that Chase and I were a part of. Disney World was always our thing. Even into my 20s, we'd do summer road trips from New York to Florida just to spend a week there. When I was little, he bought a stone with my name on it just outside of the Magic Kingdom. And every trip, our first stop was to find that stone, and we would always take a picture with it. We would ride the same rides every visit and never got bored of them. Usually Space Mountain was the first on the list. We would plan our night before, and most importantly, we would figure out where we were going to eat that day. Anyone who knew my dad knows how much he loved food. He always had a great taste, for the most part, which makes sense given who his parents were. My grandparents cooked better than most Italian chefs, and if you've never had my grandma's chicken cutlets, I'm truly sorry for you. Dad always knew the best spots in the city, and he always took us for the best pizza at Louie and Ernie's. Our favorite Italian place was La Mela. Yes, I know it's touristy and in the heart of Little Italy, but the food was always unbeatable. Usually after dinner, we would walk around with an Italian shaved ice. That said, I do have to give him a little bit of shit here. For an Italian man to say that the meatball sub from Subway was one of the best he's ever had is just insane to me.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Oh, man. He would always take us to his favorite spots in the city as well, like Sarge's Deli on East 36th and 3rd. It was the best pastrami on rye you could find according to him, even if you disagree. Growing up, hockey was my passion. My dad might not have fully understood the sport, but he always showed his support. He would take me to Rangers games at Madison Square Garden and would ask a lot of questions. As I got older, I would bring my gear to New York and play as much hockey in the summer to keep me ready for the upcoming season. My dad might not have known much about hockey, but with the great ability to talk and make connections and friends, I got some great opportunities to play hockey on the East Coast. I did play goalie as a position, and I was able to receive shots from the likes of Kevin Shattenkirk and Martin St. Louis from random drop-in times on the ice. Now with technology the way it is, you can stream men's beer league hockey games online. And for those of you who don't know what beer league is, it's men's recreational hockey, where we often drank more beer than minutes we actually played in the game. Why someone would want to watch men's rec beer league is beyond me, but he was always wanting to watch me play no matter what. He'd always text me after my games asking for the score, even if he missed it because he fell asleep. He'd ask the moment he woke up. He would always say, "I couldn't tell which team you were, but I could always recognize you by your pads." In recent years, my wife Cassie and I moved to Chilliwack and bought our first home. I commute over an hour each way to work, often on irregular hours, but my dad would always check in. He'd send me a message, "You driving?" I'd give him the thumbs up emoji and he'd call. Didn't matter if it was 2 a.m., he was usually up and ready to talk. He made those long drives go by a lot faster. We'd chat about everything. His business, his dream of Cassie and me joining him in Florida for a trip to Disney World or Universal, and well, a lot of political debates as well, which we won't get into. But he just genuinely wanted to talk, to connect, and hear what was going on in life, even if he'd heard it all 100 times before. I'm incredibly grateful that my dad was able to spend one of the most important days of my life with us. Oh, okay. When I married my best friend Cassie here. From the moment he met her, he called her his daughter. She was family to him, just like all of my friends back home who had the chance to meet him. They instantly became a part of his big Italian family. My dad was the kind of man who would give you the shirt off his back. If you ever need help or even just needed a friend, he was there for you. He was kind, caring, generous, and deeply loved by everyone who knew him. He would answer the phone at every hour of the day and talk your ear off for hours. I'm proud to be able to say I had a dad like Phil. I love you, Dad. Dave has a few things he'd like to say as well.
Well done.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep it brief. I just want to thank everyone for making it out. I know a lot of people had to come a really long ways, and we all really appreciate it. Everyone here is family, and it means a lot that we can share this day together to celebrate Phil's life. I also want to thank Jill. Without her, none of this would have been possible, and it just goes to show how amazing of a man my father was, that everyone's here today. And not much of a talker, so that's pretty much it. I want to welcome Andy over here. He's got a few things to say. If you don't know who he is, this was one of my dad's
I tried to
best
print
friends.
it large, but I still need these. My name is Andy Farrell, and for almost 25 years, it has been my honor and privilege to call Phil my friend and brother. Thank you all for coming to celebrate such an amazing life. My first meeting with Phil was to pull cable in Manhattan on the Kiewit job we both landed on. They loaned me out for the cable pole, and I was living in my fifth wheel in northern Connecticut. I met him in lower Manhattan. I was told to be there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When I got there, he said, "Yeah, we're not starting work till 11 p.m. I said, "Well, now what do we do?" He said, "Now we eat." He took me to an Italian restaurant in an Italian neighborhood, couldn't tell you where. We sat down and I asked him, "Where are the menus?" He chuckled a little bit and said, "Nah, that's not the deal. They just bring you food." I said, "Okay." He said, "It's a preset menu." I had been around, but apparently not in an Italian neighborhood restaurant. When the bill came, I crapped my pants. It was like $80 a person. I had $40 in my pocket. I said, "I gotta go find an ATM." He's like, "Don't worry about it. I'm buying dinner for the crew." We spent the whole dinner talking about our families and how much we love being fathers. And when he found out I was staying 2.5 hours with no traffic from where we were working, he sent me home. I didn't work that night. He paid me, but I didn't work. He wanted to make sure I got home to my kids. We worked many nights after and became best friends. So much so, he asked me to come to his wedding. When the no kids thing came up, I said, "Thanks, but no thanks." He's like, "You have to come." I said, "Dude, we're on the road. I have my 90-year-old grandparents to watch my kids, and that's it." It's like, "Bring them to the wedding." Boy, did that start a shitstorm with the family. My kids were the only 2 kids at that wedding. And as he reminded me many, many times, Italians invented the word vendetta. As a side note, till the day my wife died, the blackened Chilean sea bass at the reception was her favorite meal. He knew how to throw a party, that's for sure. In a short time, Phil showed me he was the type of friend I wanted in my life. I have only a handful of what I call true friends in my life, and he was one of them. Me and those certain friends would joke about the 3 a.m. phone call to bring shovels and don't ask any questions. I always suspected Phil would show up with pizza. The last few years, he would always joke, "I love you and I would give you an organ, but you probably don't want my lungs." That's the love he had in his heart. So many people have recently told me how lucky Phil was to have me like a friend. Boy, did they have it wrong. Phil came to visit me after my wife lost her battle with mental illness and took her own life. He came with a backpack for the weekend and stayed over a year to help me. At a time when I was lost, he helped me with Franklin. Removing the burden of not having to worry about my son was everything to me. For those that don't know, back then I was on call 24/7 and was having issues getting my son to school. If I got called out in the middle of the night, and that was most nights, I worried. I linked my son's Bluetooth speaker to his phone alarm on full blast, but it still wouldn't wake him up. I would have to call my next door neighbor, Joanne, who was 70 years old, to go in my house upstairs to wake him up and get him on the bus. Needless to say, when Phil showed up, he was a godsend. While yes, I did help him get healthy, he saved me in a time when I was drowning. He made me laugh more times than I can ever count, and for that I am so grateful. We saved each other. When he first got to my house, we would be sitting having a wonderful dinner that he made for Franklin and I, and he would use the F word 3 or 4 times. After all, Hillary was running in the election. After Franklin went upstairs, I asked him, I said, please don't talk like that around my son. I don't want him to think it's okay. He said, I'm sorry, I'm from New York, Italian from New York. It's like an adjective. He worked hard to clean up his vocabulary because he knew it was important for me. He would cook a great meal, and Franklin would come home once in a while and say, yeah, he wasn't hungry. He stopped at Sheets. Phil would get so pissed. I cooked for hours and he ate at a gas station? I explained to him he was a teenager, didn't know any better, but we sure appreciated his cooking. One day we were walking Riley, which was my dog, and someone asked Phil, is that your dog? Without missing a beat, he proudly said, yeah. After the guy left, I looked at him, I said, your dog, huh? He said, you've made me walk this dog every day for a year, so yes. I said, fair enough. We would sit on my back porch night after night talking about all the good we wanted to do with the money when it came in. He had a heart of gold and just wanted to help people. He would say, how much money does one person need? We have to give back. He told me one night as we were sitting on the porch, my family thinks I am delusional. I laughed and said, that's the name of your new boat. My daughter Courtney used to tease the hell out of us and say, you should just go ahead and marry Phil so you can at least get the flight benefits. She works for the airlines. He so loved her sense of humor. While I was at the wedding with Spencer with Phil, she texted me so excited about putting an offer on her first home. I told her where we were, and her response was, so happy you all are up there. Tell Phil I said hello and much love to him. My response was, you made Phil tear up. Her response was, tell him I still think of him as the best second wife you ever had. Laugh my ass off. He loved to tell stories about his family. I have heard them for over 24 years and more than once. Go figure. But to have the absolute pleasure of finally meeting some of the people that meant the most to him in life, I was so grateful. I was also so grateful I got one last road trip with him. To be at such a festive occasion, his oldest son's wedding with his other son Chase, and the people he loved. He did wish Gene could be there, but as he pointed out several times, there were no bathrooms. Please take solace knowing, he was so happy Spencer found his soulmate in Cassie.
Thank you.
He had always considered you his daughter from day one, and was so happy for Spencer. Please take solace knowing first that Phil was not afraid to die, and second, Phil died happy. He got to go to the wedding of his oldest son and see so many people he hadn't seen in so long. Unfortunately, with never recovering from pneumonia during COVID, the time change, travel, and still working, he was pretty much wiped out at the wedding, as everybody saw. We had a really good time riding my e-bikes around the lake and eating well. He also admitted he slept the best he had slept in ages on my air mattress. That's a joke in my family. His last night, we found a barbecue restaurant we had been looking for the last 3 nights but missed. He really enjoyed his dinner, and he told me how good it was. He just loved it. It was worthy of being his last meal. We also went by my storage unit for something, and I asked him if he wanted to see the skis he had shipped to me 3 years ago. He got all excited and he opened them up. When he was holding his ski boot, talking about how much he loved Diabello boots, I looked at him and said, I'll tell you what, if something happens before we get to ski together, I'm going to turn that damn boot you're holding into your urn. We talked about skiing for so many years together. Just didn't happen. I guess the joke's on me now. But I'm a man of my word, so I had my son make an imitation of his ski boot. And that will travel everywhere I ski. And I'm keeping his poles. I can't wear his boots. He was so excited to go home and finish 12 years of hard work, getting healthy in Puerto Rico and getting his dream boat delusional, all while setting his kids and everyone else up for life. That was our conversation the night before he left us. Even though he might not have been 100%, he wasn't feeling bad. I gave him a hug at the airport, told him I loved him, and we joked about probably him not getting on the plane and I would see him in about an hour. But he made the flight and called to tell me he was in his seat. I left for my friends and expected to get a call from him when I got there. The last I heard from him was a text that came through saying he had made it to Seattle. I do know he was himself on the flight. When I was able to get possession of his phone on that Monday and opened it, what do you know, there was a text from some woman he met on the plane. Hey, it's me, so-and-so, do you remember? The Uber driver must have thought I was nuts at the way I laughed, then cursed, all while crying. But I couldn't not help grinning from ear to ear, knowing he was Phil until the end. And tells me he was in good spirits, went out doing his second favorite thing, talking to a pretty woman. I'm sad he was not able to tell me about her. You know he would have. Come on, it's Phil. He couldn't help himself. However, I do feel bad for the woman. I mean, he literally ghosted her. I thank God he ended up with Joe Battiato as his business partner. The oil business is not known for honest individuals, but Phil was able to find the one guy he could count on. He would tell me day in and day out how smart he was and trusted him wholeheartedly, that we had nothing to worry about. As it turns out, it was one of the best decisions he would make. When I called Joe to tell him of Phil's passing, his immediate response is, oh my God, I have to figure out how to get money to his sons after his closing. He has carried the torch and is completing what he and Phil started so long ago, and for that I am ever so grateful. As we all grieve, I know it's hard not to be sad and broken at a time like this. Lord knows he has left a huge hole in my life. First thing I did in the morning when I got up was call him. And we usually spoke at least another 5 to 10 times during the day. And people, I know Joe and Aggie and some of the other business people, it was the same thing. Talk to him every day, multiple times. When that stops, it's hard. As we all miss Phil, we can take great comfort in knowing the legacy of Phil will carry on through his 2 amazing sons, actually 3. He always thought of Greg as his son, in addition to Spencer and Chase. He told me a million times how proud of all 3 of you he was. His legacy will continue through all of us by telling Phil stories we keep his memory alive. I, for one, plan on telling a lot of those stories. I could go on for hours talking about Phil, but I've rambled long enough. I want to give others the chance to share. Lastly, but certainly not least, I want to thank Phil's brother John for helping Chase bring Phil home and make the arrangements, and Cassie for helping us with the event, and Jillian for opening your home. He loved you and would talk about you. He was always so proud. You were his cupcake. Thank you all.
Now Greg wants to say a few words, folks.
Well, thanks for everyone for coming. My name's Greg, for any of you who don't know me. Even though this is super sad, it's really awesome to see a lot of you guys that I haven't seen in probably like 30, maybe even longer than that. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you especially to Jill for putting all this together. It really means a lot to me. As far back as I can remember, Phil has always been a major part of my life. When I was a young boy, I remember being so excited when he was coming to pick me up. I always knew we would be going somewhere fun. He always drove the coolest cars. He listened to the best music, always at ear-splitting volume. He dreamed big, and he loved his family and his friends even bigger. Phil took me on my very first upside-down roller coaster at Rye Playland. And just like Spencer said, I was shitting my pants too before. To this day, I still love amusement parks and going on rides, and I think of him every single time. He taught me how to ski and how to body surf. He taught me the value of a firm handshake and to make eye contact. He taught me how to apply for jobs and how to change the oil in a car. When I was 16, I was lost and angry and really struggling with life. Phil and Sheila opened their home to me. They made sure that I finished high school. They helped me find my way. They put me back on the path to learning how to love myself, to accept love from others. Until my last breath, I will be forever grateful. I remember one time driving in Phil's red LeBaron convertible. It was a beautiful sunny day. We were cruising along with the top down, Steely Dan blasting through the stereo. We drove under an overpass, and when we came out the other side, it was pouring down rain. It was coming down so hard, it was like a waterfall coming up over the windshield and dumping right over our heads, on our laps. His car was filling up with water, and rather than pull over, he stomped on the gas and tried to outrun it. He was laughing hysterically, almost uncontrollably. I couldn't understand his reaction and why he wasn't mad or trying to pull over and put the top up. But that was him. He never let things out of his control upset him. That is how I choose to remember and honor him, always finding the light in the darkest situations. I miss talking to him. I miss his infectious laugh. I miss his awesome hugs. My life, my character, and my memories are more vibrant directly because of Phil.
Again, thank you all for being here. Please eat. We have so much food. Mingle, tell stories. And thank you for sharing the love of Phil. Thank you.
I'm doing. Tough. Oh.